City and my listeners around the world. This is your host, Elizabeth Tripp. You're live with me on YouTube via Gotham Podcast Studio. I'm so excited. This is Wednesday night, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I am bringing you another wonderful, really incredible edition of Nourish the Soul podcast. And I am so excited to be here. And really, before we get started, I may be actually having new listeners join me, and maybe you are just tuning in for the first time, or you've downloaded this podcast on iTunes or Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify. So before we begin, I want to tell you just a little bit about myself so that you can really get a feel for who I am and why I have this podcast, why it means so much to me, and what my real mission is in my work. So I am what I call a life activator. And really what that means is that I activate people on their journeys back to their true, authentic self. And really, along the way, we uncover the obstacles and traumas that have really been limiting you from living your best life. And as you illuminate a whole new way of thinking and being, you really come to discover your own true source, your own true connection, actually, your own true connection to the universe, to this greater than ourselves life energy source that exists in our everyday waking life. That is truly us in ourselves. So I absolutely I really, really love what I do. And it is so joyful for me to share with you how I really, truly get to do what I love all day long. Because I have a private practice called Nourish the Soul that I really share this incredible work with really amazing clients. So this is a perfect time to really shout out to those awesome, amazing, really incredible people that show up at my office every day of the week, really wanting to transform. So I share with you my gratitude for coming in and really stepping into a whole new way of being with yourself. It is just such a pleasure to work with you. So I do this for a living, and it's just so much fun because I really want to shift you out of the hard in your life and into an easier way of being, of seeing your life, of experiencing life, and really an easier way of enjoying your life. And why, you might be asking, well, why? Why do you have such a strong mission and passion to do that? Well, I've been there. I have been at the bottom of the barrel. I have been in the struggle. I have felt like my life was like climbing a mountain, lost, confused, just really frustrated and felt defeated. 5 years ago, my life was completely different. And it's funny, Facebook reminds you of that. You have Facebook memories and they show up every day you go on there. It's so funny. And it's so interesting for me as I look back on those memories, and it's such a contrast from the person that I've become. And such a contrast from what I used to think and how I used to feel. And what really spoke to me as I thought about writing this show this week was how much I used to try to escape my here and now. How much I used to want to run from what was. because I felt discomfort or something was triggered in me, and my most automatic, natural reaction was to want to escape it. And it was interesting, you know, I find that so many people I work with are in that trap when they come and initially see me. And I find as I observe the world around me that I notice people in that space with themselves, rushing from one place to the next, really trying to get to the next best thing because in the moment, they need to reach that in order to feel satisfied, fulfilled, in purpose, happy. It's really amazing to see, and there's really nothing wrong with it. The thing is that I also hear people saying, but I want to be present and aware of what my everyday life is offering me. I want to be present in my relationships. I want to be present at work. I want to have appreciation for what's in front of me. And I find myself just not satisfied or really feeling content with what I have. And so when I hear someone talking like that, I begin to start to listen to their own conversation. And I start to hear and see a lot. And I'm going to be sharing this with you guys today, what it means to really return to the here and now. But before I can really share that with you in tonight's broadcast, I have to actually get you all present to this mechanism of escape that we've created for ourselves to be out of the here and now and why we do that. So, not many of us on any given day, when asked, do you know how awesome you are really, truly present to the amazingness of yourself. Not many people can you ask and they can really say, I am so aware of how incredible I am. The source in which I came from, all that in which I am embodying, the beauty in which I have within myself, the power that I have access to. You very rarely actually hear someone talking like that. And it's pretty rare for us humans to see ourselves as that clear, to really know ourselves for what we really are, and to understand the grandness of what we come from, yet the simplicity of it. Why? Well, listen to this. I found this fact, and it's quoted from the National Science Foundation. And I found it so interesting that actually when I found it, I immediately screenshotted it and I sent it to all my family. And sometimes I get responses from them, and sometimes they just kind of think, well, she's on a different planet. But in this one, I actually got a pretty good response. And this is what it is, so I'll share it with you. So, did you know, as humans, we have anywhere from 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day? Did you guys know that? That, according to some research, as many as 98% of those thoughts are exactly the same each day. So we think between 12,000 and 60,000 thoughts, and about almost all of them are exactly the same. And get this, talk about creatures of habit, but also this part was significant. 80% of our thoughts are negative. 80%, not 50%, not even half, more than half, almost 2/3 of what we think is negative. And can you guys imagine that? I mean, we are that, literally. When we get present to, can we even be aware of how awesome we are? Our most natural reaction is like, well, no, because this is wrong with me, and this is flawed, and this is why I'm broken, and this part's missing, and I don't have that. Hear that negative talk? A majority of our thoughts are negative. Wow, imagine that. And imagine we say the same negative things to ourselves over and over and over again. So here's what I started to think about. And here's how I want to present tonight's topic for you guys. Return to the here and now. How many of you guys enjoy talking to a negative person? For example, we all know we all do, who sounds like this. The weather sucks today, and I hate living in the Northeast, and it's just not going to be spring anytime soon. Or maybe you hear someone say, that guy's such a jerk, and we're never going to get far on this project if he's involved, and, he always wants to be in the limelight. Or maybe you hear someone say like, geez, New York City is just such a rat race. It's always a climb to get to the top, and I'm just slowly dying here. Or maybe you say, my relationship, it's just such a challenge. It's a struggle. And it's, relationships are a trap. Or maybe you hear someone say, I can never win. I can never win. People always want something from me. They always want to take something from me. They're always out to get me. Now, you heard that dialogue. You hear it. You hear the negativity in it. And do you like the way that person is talking? Do you like the way that conversation feels? No. Most of us actually want to get away from something like that kind of conversation. Really, we want to move away from that energy. We actually want to, move away from how that feels because it doesn't really feel good. Because it starts to feel uncomfortable. If we're sitting across from someone and they're sharing with us these negative thoughts and feelings like, this place is just a rat race and it's always hard to get to the top and I'm never going to be able to make it. Our natural reaction is like, I don't know if I want to be talking to this person. Or like we say, I'm sorry that's going on for you. And you kind of have this like uncomfortable reaction. It's so automatic. And we don't like feeling uncomfortable, do we? I mean, do you? How many of you are going to raise your hand and tell me that you really, really do enjoy feeling uncomfortable? Because it's just a walk in the park. No, not many of you, okay? So what do we do? So follow me here. This has a purpose. This has a meaning. I'm sharing this because I want you to sit back and relax and just go on a journey of self-discovery with me. Just allow yourself to open your mind, really open your heart, take a nice big deep breath. Let your day go. Because what I'm sharing with you is very important for you. You've been guided to my broadcast because something greater than yourself has brought you here. And so there's information that you're needing in order to carry forward on your journey back to your true and authentic self, the you know you are at your core. So, with your openness, what do we do? What do we do when we're in these uncomfortable situations? When somebody's sitting across from us and they are literally talking so negatively and we can feel their vibration and we feel that energy, we don't like it, we don't want it. Well, some of the easy things that we might do, we might move our seat. We may walk away. We might turn on music, put our headphones in, or, walk out and start listening to our iPods. Actually, who has an iPod anymore? But we might turn on some music. We might not return the message. Maybe this is in a text message or a email that someone's sharing this with you. We also might get angry. We might, start to kind of fight with that person, or we might actually start to check out mentally, sort of nod our head and say, yeah, I'm sorry, that sucks. I get it. I know. And just sort of start to, disassociate from the situation. So why? Why do we do that? We're not even in the moment. We're not in the here and now with them. We're not in their misery. Well, why the heck are we doing that? Well, because it feels better than that energy. Checking out, walking away, getting angry, not returning the message, checking out mentally, or maybe sometimes reaching for that bag of chips, or popping open a beer, or pouring yourself a big glass of wine, or heading to the mall and going shopping, or, heading out to the casino and going straight for the blackjack table, or, going out and just looking for that good time, that one night where you can just let loose, pick up a girl or a guy. That just feels good because it feels better than that. Correct? So it's interesting. I really got thinking about this, and I think about my podcasts, days in advance, sometimes weeks. I plan out what I want to say. It's not a wing of the moment kind of thing. I actually have a stack of papers in front of me that I use to just guide me on the meditation that I actually receive from planning the show. I sit down and I plan it because concepts come to me and they flow, and I know there's a reason why I'm sharing this with you. So it's interesting. I observe that we often automatically have a desire to rush out of discomfort. Automatically. Even in that simplest coffee talk that we might have at the office. And we hear that coworker and they're just in a negative state of mind and they're pouring it all out and it feels uncomfortable. So we check out and we rush through that discomfort and we go from that one thing to the next without thought. We just either, we automatically rush out of that discomfort and we go into the chips, we go into the beer, we go into the music, we go into the anger, we go into the not return the message, we go into a video game, we go into the casino, we go into the one night stand. We just go into it until it truly becomes, if you do something over and over and over again, it becomes a habit. So we've become habitually comfortable with rushing through moments. How crazy is that? In fact, a majority of us, and I've observed this as a life coach and activator and healer and light worker. I see many, many, many people coming through my door, and I've observed that people are very savvy with their tools, their old paradigm tools. And what I mean by that is their old ways of comforting themselves and rushing through the discomfort. And we've come up with hundreds. I'm literally not making up this. Hundreds of different things we can do to check out of uncomfortable situations, physically and mentally. It's astounding. It's astounding. And imagine 100 different habits to get out of the here and now. We've literally become masters of it. Masters. We've mastered getting out of the uncomfortable situation. So it's interesting. I see that we are programmed. We're hardwired to check out when we feel uncomfortable. And it's interesting. We're also hardwired to think negatively about ourselves. So just as much as it's not comfortable to talk to the person across from you being negative, it's not actually comfortable for ourselves to be in our own negative conversations. We, just like when we're across from that other person, check out. We check out. Nothing wrong with it, just is. We're making observations. We're actually opening our heart, opening our mind to see what it means to be out of the here and now. And let me tell you, a lot of people are doing this. And because we are hardwired and programmed to do this, we feel uncomfortable. We feel uncomfortable and we've learned to do this. So we rush past what's in front of us. We rush past the uncomfortable things. No, I don't even want to deal with that. Oh my gosh, I can't even. It's just like, whoa, nope, don't want to do that. And we head into the next thing that feels good, that feels better, that feels in the moment more comfortable than that. So everybody getting that, everybody hearing that, because when something triggers us to feel uncomfortable, we automatically reach for the escape. So it sometimes doesn't even have to be a person. It can be a thing. It can be an experience. It can be, a noise. But it can trigger a thought that creates discomfort and a feeling associated with it. And we suddenly automatically, so habitually, we reach out of the here and now. What's in front of us? Whatever is bringing something up for us. And we go into the thing in that moment that feels better, the instant gratification. So how many things in life, how many things in life are going to trigger us? How many things in life are going to trigger us to feel uncomfortable? Just think about it. Just think about your day today. Anything make you feel uncomfortable? A colleague, a boss, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a husband, a wife. When I think about these things, I see them in my clients. I think, holy cow, there is so much that triggers a human being. And truly, it's so individual. For some clients, it's their brother. For others, it's their boss. It's not a cookie cutter kind of thing, but that it's truly based on their experiences, their perception, their upbringing, their sensitivities. And so everything is pretty much, free reign to be considered a trigger to any individual. What triggers me might not trigger you. So the list goes on and on. So we have all these different things that can come and trigger us to actually activate the 80% of negative thoughts that we have. And we have learned to actually check out of our reaction to them. And we have learned to move into instant gratification, rush out of that feeling, not even sit with it, not even be with it. Not even recognize it, and go into what feels good. Go into the old paradigm of what we learned when we were 5, 6, 7, 8. And then as that became more mature for us, how we learned to get involved in bigger things like, sex or gambling or drinking. We take the same concept and we just put a 16-year-old or then a 20-year-old and then a 30-year-old on it. It's pretty interesting. So we're starting to understand this concept, the understanding of why we get out of the here and now. So the triggers, they're endless, and how many of us, knowing that, are now rushing through life? How many people do you know are rushing? How many people are really sitting with themselves and noticing what triggers them and drawing awareness and attention to it? Or how many people do you see at the bar? How many people do you see at the casino? How packed are the malls? How full are those dating sites? It's a pretty big world of people that are rushing out of the here and now. Yet, wow, so many of us, so many people want a different kind of life. They're sitting back in this conversation, and they're wondering why they feel unhappy, why they feel confused, why they feel lonely, why they feel disconnected. And so many people out there, based on this description in which we are talking about, are actually getting less of what they want. So they think they want to feel good, but the more they go for that beer, the more they go for the chips, the more they go for that, one night stand, the more they go for that shopping, the more they feel at the end of the day unfulfilled. It's one of the number one things I see when a new client comes in and I have a questionnaire and I say, so what feels imbalanced in your life? And they say, I feel unfulfilled. I don't feel happy. And we are now understanding more clearly why that happens. Now, when we're hearing it this way, it sounds so crazy, doesn't it? It just sounds like super funny. Like, what? Really? Like, how could this be happening? Why do we do this? Why don't we just sit with our feelings? And wow, how come we're, all of a sudden now feeling like so unsatisfied and disappointed and unhappy? I don't want to be that. Well, because we've learned to rush. And this brought up then really good story I wanted to share with you guys. The benefit of learning how to slow down. And it's not something that you do overnight. I'm not saying like you're going to listen to this podcast and you're going to jump off of this experience and just suddenly be, a Buddhist monk who can sit with themselves for hours. I mean, and that might not even be your goal. But the goal for listening to this podcast is to get present to what you are actually rushing through and understand that if you slow yourself down to it, you can actually find and dismantle what it is that you're struggling with, what the root of this sort of, instant gratification mindset is for you. And getting to the bottom of the negative thought that you're already hardwired to have. So, the thing is that with this kind of work, there's got to be a willingness to want to reprogram. So I want to share a story with you, and it's a recent story. So you're talking to somebody that has immersed themselves in spirituality and studying the mind and studying the soul journey and studying, different kinds of religions and philosophies and different ways of connecting to source. And I'm sharing with you my own recent personal experience with wanting to get out of the here and now. Because I'm human, and that's human. And this is a part of the journey. We're all in it together. And that no person is higher or better or bigger or, worse than the other. We're just beings journeying, figuring this crazy puzzle out, doing it together. So this story is to help illustrate to you, that rush, that need to escape in the here and now, that many of us, are experiencing this, but that there is a sweet deliciousness to slowing down and what can be available to you when you do. Okay, because we understand now that what's available when we don't, we get feeling unfulfilled, unsatisfied, disconnected, confused, lost. We're always trying to jump to that next best thing. We often forget about who we really are or what we really want. So many of you guys know I am creating a really beautiful new home for myself. I am creating a new apartment, and the universe and I are in the process of flowing this into my life. And I understand that this creation is beyond the average. It's not something that I'm going to find online, and it's really, something that is unique. So I, the other day, was walking to work. And it was such a beautiful sunny morning. And on my way to work, I heard this very soft and gentle voice inside my head. And it said, let's sit in the park before work today. Let's sit in the park this morning. And so I smiled as I was walking, and I started to reroute myself as I headed towards Madison Square Park. And I entered into Madison Square Park, and almost immediately I saw this bench, and the sun was just shining directly down on it, and it just looked so beautiful. And I said to myself, that's the spot. That's where I'm going to sit. And so I sat down and I closed my eyes, and I started noticing a old programming talking as I had been walking to the park, as I was walking in the morning. And I was hearing my old Elizabeth say, the old conversation, how are you going to make this work? How is this going to happen for you? How is this apartment going to come into your life? And I heard that, and feelings of old anxiety and really automatic desire to want to hop online, get on Craigslist, plan, hire a broker, really, it's just search, find it, really reach for a solution, get out of that uncomfortableness and really reach for the future. That's what I started to do. And I became, that feeling of wanting to become like hyper focused started to creep in. And I noticed I was rushing. Suddenly I was rushing through what I was experiencing in the here and now. And here I was in Madison Square Park, and the sun was shining, and it was so beautiful, and it was a wonderful day. There was so much for me to be appreciating and to be enjoying. And here I was having a conversation with myself, pulling me out of the beauty of which I was seeing, trying to escape really what was coming to surface for me. And so I smiled, and I did what I naturally do and what I've been opening myself up to do with more ease and with more openness, is I invited my guides to come in and talk with me. And so I said very, very gently, guides, just share with me, your insight here. And suddenly what came into my mind was, it's just going to show up. And so here I am in the park, and I took a nice big deep breath in, and I let the sun warm my face, and I let all of that old programming out. And I just closed my eyes, and I noticed that someone sat next to me, so I opened them up, and there was this gentleman next to me. And he was carrying his breakfast in hand, and, he had commented that the trees were so beautiful and the flowers were so wonderful, and he started to make small talk with me. And he started to share with me about how he was an opera singer and that he had a performance tonight, and, that he suddenly just said, would you like to come? And, I remarked, well, I would love to, but I actually have clients tonight, so I can't make your performance, and he said, it's no problem. Let me tell you a little bit more about what I do. So I'm like, okay. So the ease of the conversation was just so astonishing. And then he even pulls out a fork and he's like, would you like some of my breakfast? And he's just like this normal looking guy, just nice, just like approachable. You would think, wow, okay. And he went on to explain, he said, I'm a professional golf instructor. I've taught PGA golfers in the professional leagues, and he named a few names, like, he named Tiger Woods and, a couple other people. And I was like, what? In my mind, I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, I've gone around the world and I've taught these people. And, I like to sing opera on my free time. And, I have these intimate gatherings at my space across the park and in my apartment where people come that I know, where I can perform for them, and we can share a beautiful night together, and we can all, relish in the joy of coming together. And he said, would you like to come to one of those? And I thought, wow, sure. So I said, okay. And I said that because in that moment, I recognized that a complete stranger was sitting next to me and offering me his breakfast and inviting me to his performances and sharing his inner circle with me. And that was the universe showing me how things just show up. Then that's when I started to feel how in the here and now I was, present to myself, what I had just asked from my guides and the answer that they had given me, and what was coming up for me, how I moved through it and then got through my old programming and really allowed something quite beautiful to flow in. Who's to know what will come of this new friendship, whether it be a meeting of minds or perhaps a connection to this space in which I know is created for me, or a potential new client. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it showed up. And because I had the space, the availability, and the awareness in myself to stay present to the here and now, I could experience it. Now, if I had let my old programming run that morning, I would have been out of the here and now. I actually probably wouldn't have gone to the park. I wouldn't have heard that gentle voice tell me to sit on that bench. I probably wouldn't have, gotten out of that automatic thinking and in that anxiety. And I probably would have been on Craigslist and looking at different spaces or following up with different brokers that had been in touch with me. I would have been escaping. I would have been escaping the uncomfortable feelings that were showing up for me. I would have been trying to execute a plan for solution for them. I would have been hyper-focused and fixating. I mean, not to this great degree because that's not where I'm at, but it would have been a little bit of mud. And it wouldn't have been benefiting me to go into the old way of comforting myself, because those instant gratifications of going online or reaching out to those brokers or, trying to find the solution while dizzying myself in my head, they didn't serve me. It didn't serve me. I got more of what I didn't want, and I got left feeling frustrated and unfulfilled and not happy and wondering, that's not what I want. So instead, I actually got out of the rush, the automatic want and desire to move out of an uncomfortable feeling, and I stepped into the present of life's precious moment. And I actually allowed myself to flow something in. It just shows up was just so powerful. So what do you get out of rushing in your life? You lose contact with the precious moments that are available to you because you lose contact to who you really are, what you are in your entirety, the grandness of yourself, the amazingness, the access to the power that you have inside of yourself. So what I want you to do is I want you to start to see, how can you move into the here and now and be okay with some of the sticky, heavy, and uncomfortable things that show up? Because when you don't draw awareness to what triggers you and the uncomfortableness that you feel and draw attention to your old behavior of dealing with it, you don't get what you truly want. And you get less of what you desire. And so being in the here and now is giving yourself permission to feel your own discomfort. It's pausing to the automatic response to your triggers. It's about choosing awareness of how to show up for yourself by asking yourself, how do I truly feel right now and why? And what is coming up for me? As a result, you will start to get to know these 80% of the negative thoughts that you have and the repetitiveness of them and the behaviors and then habits that you have developed because of them. And listen, if you really want to go deeper here and you are really ready to get to the bottom of this, come and work with me. I am an expert at hearing where you're at and helping you to get where you want to go, and make it so easy, like a walk home. You get to experience a whole new way of being, activate your path back to your true self, and along the way, discover your own true connection to Source, the universe. So if you want to clear this out, then head over to my website, nourishthesoul.nyc, click on the services page, and find a day and time that works for you. It's just that easy, because it can be a very beautiful experience to tune back into the here and now. Because once you clear out all that garbage, all that stuff, all that old programming, you actually find yourself stopping and smelling the roses and seeing the beauty of what is available to you in this very moment. And you become so thankful for everything that you have, whether it is the stickiness or the uncomfortableness or the flow and the hearing of your guides, that it's just going to show up and there it is, and then that person comes. You get to experience both sides because they're equally as beautiful and equally as purposeful. So, my friends, that's how you start to return back to the here and now. Subtle, but very, very profound.